Hello, everybody. Sorry for the late start. This is Mickey Mao with CartoonMoneyPrinters.com. Um, Today is June 19th, 2025. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll still have to try to work through that. But um, yeah, I hope you're all doing well. I am joined today by Kermixalot. Why don't you go ahead and say hey?
Hi guys, looking forward to doing some back testing with you.
Cool. All right. Yeah, go to www.cartoonmoneyprinters.com. Get access to all of our indicators, the full suite. You'll join the group. You'll be able to see what charts we're looking at, all the coins we're looking at. We, like I said, custom indicators, and we're working on a bunch of other projects as well. So stay tuned for all of that. And without further ado, why don't you go ahead and take the show?
All right. So today I'm going to be focused on CPR, which is Central Pivot Range, and I'm going to be focusing on looking for and can show you guys in the group, ways to do that in a little bit here. Looking for when the weekly and the monthly CPR overlap. Okay, if you don't want them to be separated, like right here, there is a weekly, and here is the monthly that's separated. Um, that can still work, but I would pass right by that. I'm not interested in that at all. And besides, I have days to look for these because they're based off of weekly and monthly time frames. So with ETH here, let me take this down, open up the screen a little bit. All right, so with ETH, coincidentally enough, the last 3 months before this month, we've had them. Okay, so I'm going back to March here, and what I'm looking for on the price action is price to come back in to the stacked pivots, and it's a very powerful springboard, and then take the trade in the direction that it's moving. Now, this is not something that you're going to get the bottom or tops of wicks. This is not something that you're going to be picking out of a supply zone, order block, breaker block. However, if you have something there, okay, and you see the stack, then that's going to just add confirmation and work in your favor. Now, very simple price action here. The ETH consolidated, went sideways here, and you can clearly see the bottom of this range right here. Price broke through it, right? And now it's coming down, and in this area, you're going to see if you have our CMP pivots extreme, you're going to see the future. You can see future weekly. You can see future monthly. You'll see that the weekly, which is right here, is inside of the monthly. Okay, this is legitimate. You want them to either overlap or to be one encapsulating the other. All right, and that's what we have here. We have the monthly encapsulating the weekly. So you had this huge liquidity grab, which happened to be right up into the bottom of the breakdown, and that was your spot. I think there was a pivot right there. It bounced right off of it to the penny. Now with this system, if you're not using supply, order blocks, breaker blocks, if you're not using that, you're not going to get up in here. Now with the par, I wouldn't have grabbed that either, right? Now this is a swing par, so as soon as you had the V formation, when they started to come down, I would have gotten in. Also, based off of the springboard, I want to go in the direction that it's bouncing, and so that would have gotten me in here at around 24.25. or maybe even waited for confirmation below the 50 EMA on the, this is on the 4 hour. Keep this in mind. Okay, if I'm on the 15-minute, could probably catch it earlier. But price leaves the station right here
Can you
at
do me a favor
23.90.
and zoom in more on that? You're operating with a very small amount of real estate on your specific example.
Okay. Here, I'll take the power off. It'll give me.
I'm like squinting.
Sorry. Yeah, it was a little small. My apologies, guys. All right, so as soon as price leaves the stacked weekly and monthly, and it was also a close below the 50, and you could have actually taken it here and done very, very well. 23.88, and the next 3-4 hour candles got you down to 21.10. So that was that 12 hours, right? You got a nice 200 and something dollar move on ETH. So that was a powerful move, and it's exactly what I would expect from the springboard of the weekly and monthly stack. All right, so the next one, so it's just barely overlapping. Now, if this weekly was a little bit lower and not touching, I would just move on. I would look for another coin, right? I'm gonna start, for me, I'm gonna start with the larger cap ones to see if they have them, and then, you know, go through my list of 300 coins and just kind of boom, 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 go through. If there's any, if there's coins that are circulating and they're trendy, I'll obviously check those first. All right, so here you had, I mean, price's bearish structure, and it comes up, barely touches the monthly here. Now, I know that this is a Virgin monthly, so I am going to expect it to touch it, and it did here. And if I'm on the 15-minute time frame, I probably could have seen a move down. Let's see here. Actually, you have a bear div on 2 of the par swing setups that I have, and the bear divs were actually happening on the candle before. So that was a good setup there. Again, even if you enter way the heck down here, right, 1833 instead of 1933, you probably be beating yourself up, you know, thinking it's such a terrible entry. But if you have your stop loss up here, you still got 1833, and that just went sideways and then boom, straight down. Again, another powerful move. So it kind of just proves the point, and that was a nice $400 move in a week. Actually, half a week. That's like 4 days. April 3rd through April 6th. 3 days, 4 days. All right, so the next example. Okay, here, this is a really good one. All right, so now you're getting change in market structure. You've taken out a few of the highs, so you got break in structure. I mean, we still are on the 4 hour, so you got like a bunch of break in structures here. Price comes up, consolidates sideways, which is what we want. Right around here, you're going to start seeing the future weekly and monthly, and you know they're overlapping. And if they're overlapping by a lot and only a few 4 hour candles out, there's a really good chance that that's going to print like that. Okay. So, now, when it opened on the weekly and the monthly, or the monthly, sorry, you have a Virgin, right? And again, as Mickey said, I don't want you guys squinting. So right here, it opened a Virgin monthly. Okay. And like I say, it's always, not always, but most of the time, you're going to get it to come back and touch the Virgin. It's about the same percentage as a CME gap fill or an FBG fill.
It's freaking beautiful. That is such a great example.
Thank you. Right here. So there was a 90% chance. It may vary from 88 to 92, you know, but there was a 90% chance that this was going to happen. And again, this is on the 4-hour. I could definitely zoom into the 15 minutes, but I want to focus on finding more of these. The purpose of this video is to see how many of these work, and this is so far. Again, I promise you, I didn't even think about these 3 spots before I opened the video, but that's why we're gonna look at some other coins. This was 3 for 3, and look at that move.
Yeah, it touched the CPR, and then boom,
and it just
off to the
exploded.
races.
I mean, without any drawback, right? That was 2570 from 1770.
So check this out. This is something I want to point out too. So it touched the CPR, and then it came back and tested the liquidity from that little tiny range right before it dipped down to the CPR, and found support there, and then boom. What is that green dotted line? Is that the 50 EMA, or is that the
This green is the 200, and it hit the 200, and you know, Froggy loves the 4-hour 200, and that was right here. Yep. And it touched it, bounced, and it bounced off of the 200 4-hour and you're already above the monthly, so this is bullish, and you have an extremely narrow weekly right here. So that just added, you know, fuel to the fire and just pew.
Yeah.
So that's this is what we want to find. So I'm game. Let's throw some coins out.
Let's do
not hype.
Oh, you beat me to it. Damn it.
Damn it. I knew you were gonna say it.
I have a bot trading on hype right now because I'm experimenting with it. That's why I haven't been like putting in watches or anything, because I've essentially threw all my fucking ammunition at this bot to see what it does.
All right, I'm gonna zoom out. All right, and what I'm gonna do right now is just look at I'm gonna go from right to left, and as soon as we find one, we'll focus on that. Okay, doesn't matter if it worked or not. All right, and would you all agree that this is it right here? That's a weekly and monthly overlapping.
Yep.
Okay, now hype is really strong, right? So we didn't get a lot of consolidation coming into it like that, right? And if you guys have noticed, you gotta kind of hop on these pretty quickly. Now, you might have missed this, right? And I don't even think, I think it left it a virgin. Here, let me zoom in more. Yeah, okay, so at some point, hype might want to come back and touch this, but I don't know. This is pretty long gone. That was $18. So it never touched that. Now, you did get your consolidation here, right? And you had a bounce off of the weekly and the 50 EMA. And with hype, that was probably good enough to take it. I'm just curious. You have a bull div on both of my ribbons. And let's draw it to confirm. Hold on a second. Trend line. All right, so I'm going to go from here. Yep, here to there. Price went down. And ribbon up. You guys confirm? Ribbon. Kind of flat, but nonetheless, price went down. Came down around the middle of the weekly pivot. And also you have the 50 there, and it closed above that. Again, we are on the 4-hour, so you could have found something in there on the 15-minute, but you had the bull dip nonetheless. You could have taken this candle right here. Right here. And what happened after that? Again, and the thing with these rips off of the stacks, you don't get a lot of drawdown. I mean, and you could just take 70% out and then just walk away and maybe just leave that thing there for whatever. But hype, let's take a look from, let's do the middle of the candle to be fair, to where until there was okay, right here, there was finally a little bit of drawdown right here. And that's a nice 23% move in 2.5 days. Right? And then it obviously hype went on to go much, much further. And if you kept putting your stops under the swing low, stop here, you're fine. Stop under here, you're fine. And straight up to $40. Now we're actually below that now. So that would have been, and that was all in the same month. Yeah? Yep, in that same month, it came up to $40. They front ran the yearly pivot and the R5 on the monthly. Okay. All right, so there's one.
Let's do.
And what we're testing today is that we're just proving that this is a springboard. But as far as the version, that didn't touch, but the springboard worked. Would we agree?
Yeah.
All right. Here's another one. Overlap. Or you got a stacked. It's overlapped. Price consolidates into it, and take it. Here it bounced right off the bottom of the monthly, and it pierced right back through the weekly. You could have taken the short here or here at 13.50, and price did come down to 9.40. So that's pretty good. And I would say that a 40% move is good enough to say that it was a powerful springboard. All right, now here is a case where it's not touching, but it's a very narrow weekly. But this wouldn't count in the test, right? But that weekly did its job for sure. Okay. Now this one didn't touch. This one did. All right. Now let's take a look. All right. So this is stacked. This is stacked. This is stacked, and this is stacked. All right. So I don't know if I would say it's it's not a fail because it ended up working. And you have a range here, right? Price stayed within that range. The question is, when do you take this trade? And they're all stacked, so, but what I want to say here, Mickey, is that this is kind of wild movement, and it didn't really have that typical consolidation into the stack that I like to see. You just have some wild ranging movement. And then from here, price left the station and then came down hard.
Okay. Cool. Let's try it on a less
Give me another coin.
Market cap coin.
Let somebody else.
Okay. Does anybody have a coin they want to recommend?
Just throw it out. Where's Swollen?
He had to take off.
Nobody mentions one, just throw one out.
Yes. What's up, Freedom Lover? Let's check out Sui. SUI. Sweet. This is the one that got the hack, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Oh, there was like a basket of coins in that protocol that was
All right.
affected by it.
So, okay. So, like I said, we'll pick the very. All right. So right here, we got it. And it actually, it kind of did it twice for us. But I'm not going to count this one because during this price action, this week is gone. Right. So I'm not going to count this, but I will count this. Okay. You have market structure is bearish, consolidation into, right? Now, hype, being that it's one of the strongest coins on the market, big reason why it didn't come back to touch that version. So you're going to have those anomalies, and that's going to be in that 10 to 12% that just didn't satisfy the version CPR. So you have the consolidation. And what does price do? Bounces right off the bottom of the monthly CPR. I mean, let me zoom in even more here. I mean, it's boom, right there. You can see that. Created a hammer candle, which is bearish. I mean, you could have just taken it right here, right? Again, reminding it's on the 4-hour. I work usually on a lower time frame. But I'm going to be looking for them on the 4-hour. And then when I see consolidation into it on the 4-hour, that's when I'll drop it down on a lower time frame. But this is another success. And let's measure from the middle of the candle here down to the blue, 13%. And that was in 4 days. Okay, so not the hugest percentage move, but 13%, even at 10x, it's 130% in 4 days. Who's going to complain? All right, so you got that. Let's look and see. Okay, here's another. All right, now I'm going to put out the theory that if the weekly is wider, that the move will probably not be as great out of the stack. And we'll start looking at that on the next few examples. But we have the consolidation into the stack. And again, you have, a move off of the top of the monthly pivot. And there's another pivot here. All right, so let's see what that. Let's get the measure tool here. All right, it's not bad actually. 31% move in a few days. So if you took the trade here, right, as it was leaving from this weekly, there is a chance that you might have gotten stopped out, but that's still pretty close to the bottom. But seeing that it holds the monthly, you can get back in. And right here, it's like, okay, no, you don't. I'm not going to go inside the monthly CPR. And it held, and then you could just put your stop below that wick there. So this wasn't clean. It did it did have an impulse move out of the stack, but it was a little bit dirty in here. Again, this could have been something news related to help that. But let's take a look at the next one. And Mickey, are you noticing that it's usually the first week of the month?
Or what?
That the stacks happen.
Oh yeah,
Look,
yeah.
first week of the month.
That would
First
make
week of
sense
the month.
because after that, price is going to react to that next monthly CPR, and then
Yeah,
and then
and
each weekly CPR is going to be variant on the week prior, so it'll pull away from
right.
the opening.
And on all three of the ETH examples, they were all on the first week. All right, so here, um, consolidation into the stack, right? 4 hour right off of the 200, and then a huge move down. You had a little bit of a retrace to the 50. I mean, so that's pretty clean. Once it leaves the station, you had a 27% move to this monthly pivot line, right? Pretty clean. All right, so that's sweet. All right, so give me another coin.
Let's do XRP. That one's gonna be a lot more volatile. And then from what I've noticed on XRP is that's one of the coins that will stop punch you very easily. Look at all those wicks. Those are all stop hunts.
Oh yeah. All right, is this a stack? No, there's space in there. So this does not count. And I think I'm going to gravitate toward weeklies that are more narrow. This is super wide, saying it's just going to be sideways, and it certainly was sideways. Let me keep looking. Hold on, just looking up something here. Okay. Here's a stack. But man, that was like the last day of the week, and price did not come into that at all. So this is not what I'm looking for. Price just never came close to it. So this is not an example of what I'm looking for. Here it didn't even touch, but price came and touched the monthly. So that's interesting. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. This is it. All right. Bearish market structure. Price consolidates into the stack. You got a weekly, monthly here. You got most of the weekly and the monthly. I'll count this, and boy, I'll tell you that first. It's they seem to always. I don't know, Mickey, if you're noticing this. They seem to always do this huge candle when it leaves the station. It really leaves. So I wouldn't really want to short it down at the bottom of the candle here. Again, the 15-minute I'm sure it would have gotten me in up here, or as soon as it left the weekly and monthly, which is right here, and at that point it was under the 50 EMA. So I'm going to count from, conservatively the middle of this candle right here. And down. Let's just go to that monthly pivot. Measuring 24% in. You had a day where it kind of faking you out a little bit. Another 2 days. That was about 4 or 5 days. 24% move. Here you have a stack at the end of the month. But it didn't really consolidate it, and then the month ended. So, really, that's not really what I'm looking for. Okay. This is legitimately what I'm looking for. But I would say that you would have still made money on this trade, no doubt. But it didn't really get that huge move. And it might be something to do with it not being at the beginning of the month. And this is where other people can take notice of this and see what works. But you have definite consolidation into the stack, right? And both candles bottomed out, not the wick, but the candles bottomed out right on the monthly. And then you had your move up out of it. And that was as I suspected, that was a bull div on both swing candles. Let's see what that move is. Let's go even from the middle of the next candle. 13%, but 13%, and that happened in like 8 hours. So there's nothing wrong with that. So it's a success. It just wasn't what I would have expected. Maybe some more, but you also had a bearish free step on the weekly on the CPR too. Okay, here's a good one. This is a good one. All right, so another stack, and then we'll move on to one more coin, and then I think we can end it if there's any questions. All right, a definite stack, bearish market structure, right? Oh no, so you missed this, right? You missed this short right here. You're beating yourself up. Price comes back into it. Again, both of the tops of the candles bounce right off the bottom of the monthly CPR. The next candle wicked into the 200, and from there you had your. Let's take a look here. Okay, so the daily was coming down. Probably, I mean, looking at the swing ribbons, you might have waited till here to get in. And again, you made money, right? Taking that trade, it's 12% to, and they seem to always come to that S1 or R1 monthly pivot, don't they? And that's where you could have gotten out at a 12% move. Not stellar, no pun intended, being that that's a sister coin, but it's a good move. It's a good move. Just not earth shattering, but anyway, we got any questions so far, or maybe give me one coin and then we can take a look at that.
Pith. Python. Okay, so you get your entry from these springboards. How do you get off?
Well, haven't you noticed? I mean, I'm gonna use my par. If I got a bull div on my 1530 and 3060 ribbons, and I'm up 20-30%, I'm taking it. But we're not even looking at that element. But if you've noticed, a lot of these, and we'll go back and look at a few of them, but a lot of them have gotten reversals at the R1 or S1 monthly pivot, because we're taking the trade from a monthly weekly stack. So we're taking it from the monthly CPR. If you're doing that, the monthly R1 or S1 always a spot to TP. I mean, it's just, you should just take it, even if it's 25-30%. That, you know, even if you don't have the reversal on the momentum indicators, if it hits the monthly R1 or S1, take it. And I will go through and verify that and see if what percentage it comes down to the R1 or S, or up to the S1, and then report back to you guys for sure. But let's take a look at Pith. Jeez, this thing is wild. All right. So again, let's start at the beginning.
Go to the daily for me real quick. Yeah, it's definitely been going down.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming you're asking because it's a spot huddle for you. Freedom lover.
Where'd she go?
Oh, she's here.
Oh, I didn't see her on the marquee.
Oh, she might have left.
Oh. All right. Well, we'll take a look at it. Let's look at a few.
Yeah, go back to the 4 hour for your strategy, and then also, I want you because Magbane pointed that out. I want you to come up with an exit strategy for each one of these examples.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you guys what I'll use on the swing, but there's no stack.
Can you minimize your watch list? Get more real estate going. Thank you.
Okay. Um, so I always want to look at the beginning of the month first. Okay, so right here we have the stack. There's no real stack over here, so let's focus on this. We got the stack. You have bullish market structure. And then this looks like a 50% retrace right here. Maybe a little bit less. But a definite consolidation into the stack, right? Now let's just see here. All right, bullish divergence, obviously right here. You guys are experienced, you can see that, right? Do I need to draw it? Or are we good?
Why don't you go to draw it?
Right there. Higher low. Higher low. I'm focusing on the ribbons, of course.
Freedom Lover, we're looking at Pith now. We're assuming that we're looking at this because you have a huddle bag. So it's looking pretty brutal on the daily.
Uh, However, there is some bullish divergence stuff going on it right now. So there's some hopium. You got a bullish div on the 900 too. It's just the daily hasn't quite turned yet, but it's not terrible at this point. Just kind of seeing what I see. Can it come down to this monthly pivot after it left this stack? But this stack, this is the monthly pivot that counted. So maybe it doesn't need to come all the way down to 0.08.
Make sure to use all your real estate. I know you got a new monitor, so it's really wide. So
All right. All right. So, well, I wanted to show the. All right. So the bull divs on this stack is 1, 2, 3. This is the true strength index. Oh, all three conditions were met. And I could, had the signal here, and it went right through the stack. I just want to see, let's say we even got it as it got back into the monthly, and that was within 2 days? Yeah, 55% move. Realistically, I probably wouldn't have there. So let's look at the TPs. I'll start talking about the strategy for exits. Right here is your R1 pivot, but I mean, I don't even know if I would have taken it there. I mean, there was no momentum change that was just straight through. However, you take it 25% out here, and then it came up to the next R2. You can definitely take another percentage out here. At this point, you should be like 60, 70% out, and you can put your stop. But I mean, after a move like that, I take pretty much everything out. I mean, you're just asking to get taken out at break even or in profit. So I think a good strategy on stacks are to definitely look for the pivot points on the monthly. But again, I don't know how much I would have sold here. That was just streaming through it. So that was a nice 55% move there. Let's look at, here's another stack. Again, it's at the first week of the month. Crazy. Bearish structure, right? Comes down, kind of break a structure here. And then it consolidates into the stack. Bounces off the kind of in between the 50 and the bottom of the monthly CPR, and big candle. It always seems to, when it really leaves, it seems to be a big candle. I hate getting in again. That's on the 4 hours. So let's say you got in at the middle of the 4-hour candle. Let's just do a measure from here, right? Not a great entry at all. But again, there's not really much drawdown. Okay, now here, it did not hit the monthly pivot. So, if you guys are using Money Minter or Market Cipher, you can take a look at that. But you have, even if you didn't get out on this huge V down, right? You have a screaming bull div right here, another one here, and you could have gotten out here. And what's the measure? All right, so let's measure from like right here down to here. That's still a 20% move. So in this case, using the pivot would have fell short, but I am sure if I look at the 15, and I'll go ahead and do it. What is that, April 7th? Let me go to the 15. April 7th, right? So, there we go. Yeah. Let me pull up the par on that. And I'm going to, let's look at the 30-60 on the par. I mean, I use the 1532, but let's just take the zeros out of here. Zoom out a little bit. All right, and I'm doing this because it did not hit the monthly, but you have a very obvious bull div right here with the higher time frame, way oversold. Oh, you know what? Let me look at the 360. I gotta put that in there because that's my higher time frame. Okay, so bull div with the 360 completely buried, and that would have gotten you out actually right here, 0.109, from this rejection of the stack. So that's a good move, and let's measure that. And I want to make sure that I see a legit right here bear div on the 150 and a bear div on the 3062 with the 360 heading down. All right, so I'm gonna measure from here down to there. So now we're looking at 26% more. So use your momentum indicators, but targets, definitely R1 and S1 is excellent targets to watch for. Let me go back to 4 hour.
Another good rule of thumb, MagBane, as far as exit strategy, is the look back technique. So if you enter in a trade and all your bells or whistles on, why don't you go and find another one, Kermit, and then I'll give an example.
Stay on pith.
Sure, yeah, that works. Yeah, find another trade for me, and then we'll look at TP zones or exits.
All right, right here. Here's a good one. Right here.
All right. So where would you enter? Let's just say using your strategy. Scroll in more on the candles so the candles look bigger. Yeah, thank you. Just because it's they're tiny there. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Drag that
All right, so
all the way to the right. Drag it more to the right. On the
well, hold on. Let me figure out. This is January 25th. you know, like I said, let me work what I would be working off of. 15-minute, all right? And let me go to, but I know MagBrain uses a higher, so let's say 1 hour, all right? January 25th, and then after this, we want to take some other questions. January 25th. All right, come on. I need those pivots, CPRs to load. It's right here. Was it January 25th? No, maybe not. Sorry. Okay. Oh, here it is. Okay. January 5th, 6th. Okay. So, Mickey, do you want to talk?
Well, where's your entry?
All right, so my entry. All right, so let's focus on. Here, let me move this back to 1530. All right, so without looking at par, my entry would be once I feel like this is going to fall right in this area, because price had consolidated into the stack, right? This is a legitimate stack. It's overlapping, all right? So as soon as I start seeing, a fall from here, this is where I want. So I'm going to look at my 1530 ribbon in this area, right? And let's take a look here. All right, so the 90-minute is trending down, and the 1530 it's kind of it's not a perfect bear div. It's a little bit hidden, but price went up steep and the ribbon kind of sideways. Now that's not perfect, so I may, if I'm only looking at this, I may have waited for this bear div right here, and that was right here. Let me draw a vertical. So that was right there, and red for short. Okay, which isn't bad at all.
Now get the position tool.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Position tool?
Yeah. Short. You want the one that says short.
Oh, that. Okay.
Yeah, you don't want that one. You want the one that says short position.
Right.
All right, and then go to your. No, you got to put it on where your trade is. On that vertical line.
Okay.
All right, and then automatically target 1.5 or 1 to 1.
1 to 1?
Yeah, your
That's
stop loss
terrible.
is really high.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna adjust that. I would say maybe a little bit over the monthly pivot, and then I mean, ideally,
No. Just do a 1 to 1 for me.
Okay. All right, 1 to 1.
All right, so that would have been like TP1 for the range, so maybe 10% there, right? So you're like, okay, cool. Now looking back, where's the next level of liquidity? So now bring it down to that next lower low. There we go. Bam.
Right here.
There's TP2. And
3.5.
A 3.5. Now
Yeah.
you're gonna be zooming out further, so you need to get those candles smushed together. Because I'm looking at the past.
Okay.
And then bam,
Now,
there's a final TP right there, in my opinion.
Right there.
Bam.
Okay.
5 to 4, or 5 to 1. So
5 to 1.
Yeah. So that's like an easy way to essentially like think about TPs. Is where's liquidity going? You know you're going short, and then you know it's
Right.
hunting for liquidity down below. So where is that liquidity? Put your take profits there.
Now, probably wouldn't have wanted to take TP1 where you said, because everything was coming down. The
Absolutely.
9360, the 3060, it didn't,
Yeah.
there wasn't, you know,
But
but
as far as like finding an exit, like that's an easy way to essentially like start planning out your exit in risk factors that are pretty awesome.
right, I agree. Yeah. So, yeah, and it fell short of, I mean, that would have been a just incredible move down there. But now,
But check this out too. You see where it finally where the TP is currently in that short position, and then how
yeah,
price just pretty much jumps around right there. Like that was obviously a very traded level in where we TP'd on that position tool.
but I want to point this out. What did we do? We did hit S1. So, it happens. Now, that was a long, I don't like to hold for that long when I see like a swing going back up, because I mean here you had a 5-day run. I just don't want to see it go backwards for 5 days. But again, that's me. Different trading styles. But if you're still in that month and it left a stack and it's still bearish, right? And here you still have bearish market structure. You got another trade. You have bear divs on both the ribbons, right? You have the 90 starting to turn down. You have another trade here, and 0.34, and that one hold it into the S1. 0.34 to 0.26. That's for what? 20%, 25%. Okay. Well, I'm done. I mean, was that enough to show that stack is a pretty decent springboard, especially when it's at the beginning of the month? I mean, this could count too. Consolidation in, take this short here. I mean, and it did come down. Now, in this case, the S1 was not very far, and it was pretty much kind of sitting on top of the yearly. So this is a lot of support right here. So if you took this trade, that should be a big T right there. Right. Another example: stack and stack, consolidation in, move out. Right. So that's what you want to look for. Look at it's basically, I would say, look at the basic market structure. Look for a move in the opposite direction, a consolidation into the opposite direction, into the stack, and then get that reversal, and you're gonna get paid. So we got another week and a half, and I'll start hunting around. I don't care as much now at the end of the month. I feel like it's not as powerful. But the first week, I really want to focus, because in this case, it made your entire month on that trade. So,
Well,
first week
absolutely.
of the month,
Yeah.
where great
So
trades can happen.
does this also work with weekly and daily are stacked like this?
Yes, it does. I kind of wanted to kind of go off the reservation of my usual kind of lower time frame stuff today, because I'm trying to find the swings, and then so like right here, right? Okay, now I'll throw this shit down to the 15-minute, and I will trade this for the month. Right here, trade it for the month. Right? One trade, two trade, three. I mean, So yeah, it definitely works on the daily, weekly, but instead of 3 to 4 days, it's 8 to 12 hour, 6 to 12-hour trades. You want to look at it? Let's take a look. I have, all right, it's a little bit, oh wait, where's my daily? Oh, shit, okay, here. Might just be too far back. And I have all the pivot lines on the weekly. I really wish that we can code this to shut these off. Here, I'll leave L1, H2, or yeah, H1. Wish there was a way you could just toggle them all off in one fell swoop, but that should clean it up a little bit. It's not. I don't know why. Oh, I'm on H12. Let me get on daily. And fill color, make that a little bit darker. L1 and H1, perfect. All right. Okay. And I got to get off the higher time frame. We'll stick with 15. So let's use the same theory. First day of the week, right? Here we didn't have it, so I move on. Here we have it. Here we go. No, that's not touching. All right, here we go. Let me point it out. Right here. Here's your stack. Bearish market structure. We all agree, right? Price coming up into the stack. And now let's take a look. And then Mickey, you can help me look at the TPs by market structure. I think we got one here and one here, right? Then I would ask, why not use this one, and do we use this one or this one? But let's take a look. All right, so the 90 starts curling down already right here, and the 360 had already been coming down. If I look at the 3060, look for the bear divs, price went up. So here we go. Boom. Bear div. Bear div. Although the 90 wasn't really turned there, so I'd have to go to this one. Right? And that's going to put your entry, looks like right about here at the weekly pivot. And let me zoom in now. And then I'll do the short position. All right, so right here, all right, we don't need to go that high, but we could be safe and put the stop outside of the weekly pivot. That's plenty safe. And plus that you have a high over here, so that's a swing high. I mean, yeah, swing high. So TP1, well, here's your weekly S1 right here. Okay. That's the daily, sorry. Where is the weekly? Oh, it's way down here. Okay. Alright, so in this case, alright. So the daily S1 is a 1.27, and that's on a really conservative stop loss. So that could be TP1. And that makes sense because once it hit here, you had the bottoming out of both the 1530 and the 3060 ribbon, right? See that right here, right here. So that was a good TP1. Stop at break even, which would have been up here, so you're fine. You're not stopped out, although that would have been a little bit scary coming up there, but you're still in. And then the next TP, would you say right there, based off of market structure, Mickey?
Absolutely.
2.65, and right when it hits that area, you're starting to get bull divs. Right here on the 1530, and right here on the 3060. Now, the 360 is still coming down, so that would be okay to leave some in, but that would have been TP2. And just to measure, what is that from here to here? 6% move in a day, so there's nothing wrong with that. And then that just kept dropping. 90 and the 360 kept falling. So you just let that ride, and then you start looking for more bull divs, right? Which we don't really get a clean one till right here, right? Boom, there's a nice bull div, and it's kind of hidden. Price did go up, but nowhere near as steep as the ribbons. Very steep move up, very steep move up, right? And by this point, the 90 and 360 turn and long, or just your final TP. So from that point, that's about a day and a half gone by. Damn it. I thought I kept hitting a ruler. 12.4%. And that's what we're looking at. So that's the first example we saw, and it was definitely a nice big move from the stack. And then just find one more, and then I gotta wrap it up. Okay. No touch, no touch. Here we go. Stack. Price, came up into it. And the question is, would I take it here or here, right? It's not the cleanest. Well, you know what? Okay. So the 360 is coming down for a while, right? And then you have a divergence gap. So you just got to make sure you're catching that. You don't have a bare div in this scenario. Nothing clear, nothing clean, but you definitely have a divergence. As soon as that started to turn, that 360 is still trending down. And it's also a very narrow CPR here on the daily. Let me open that up a little bit more. And you guys know I love those. So a stack, and then this is also, it's touching, and it's very narrow. So this is what I want to focus on. And also, when you have a wide CPR into a very narrow, that's a breakout expectation, and that's what happened. Now, the breakout was pretty far down, but it still went way down after. I mean, look at that move. So even if you got really crappy entry like over here, that was a nice 16% move in the next day and a half. But yeah, that would have just been a divergence gap play. It didn't really give you a nice clean bare div. So in this instance, it was a little tougher. I'm not sure I would have caught it, but it's there. All right, I'm getting sleepy.
All right, guys. Well, yeah, let's call it here. Thanks.
Yeah, but if there's any quick questions, yeah. I mean, or additions or improvements or feedback, I'm definitely open. Okay. All right, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good there.
Yeah.
All right, everybody,
Okay.
thanks for joining us. You can visit us at cartoonmoneyprinters.com, get full access to all of our suite of indicators. I think we got like 6 of them, 5 or 6
Yeah.
of them. We are coming. We have strategies. So we have the par strategy. We have the pivots extreme strategy, as well as the A plus squeeze strategy from Astronaut Toad, as well as some other things working in the background. So we're trying to do some really cool things. So stay tuned. Join the group. You get a month free trial if you go to www.cartoonmoneyprinters.com. Click the Start Now button. Sign up through whoop.com. Link your Discord and your Trading View to get access to everything, including the group. And then from there, check us out. Let us know what you think. All right.
I have one thing to say to Maggreen, but